Give me a few seconds. I'll send you a new one. Hey, everybody. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I want to apologize. I'm in Manchester, England right now. I spoke at a fantastic a fantastic event for European sellers called E-commerce North. And I am live from the Marriott in Manchester, England, but it seems like the internet service is really slow. Our guest is Aaron Schneider from eBay. And if I can get this working, we're going to be talking about how Amazon sellers can diversify, get onto eBay, and give yourself a little bit of protection. But I need you to sit tight for a few moments. I got to send Aaron a new link, which I'm doing right now. He was just on my cell phone. And I hope the quality of the video is not too bad right now. If it is, we'll end up redoing it. Just give me a few more moments. Aaron should be on shortly from Aaron Schneider from eBay. Now, while I'm here, I'm gonna try and kill some time like maybe a radio talk show would talk to you about. Kind of some interesting stuff I learned here while in Manchester. I had the pleasure of sitting next to a former Amazon person, Amazon UK, and I learned some really cool stuff. First, I learned that they really do enforce this like 2 pizza meeting thing, and every time they come up with a new idea, it has to be down to 2 pages or less. And when Amazon's team comes up with a new idea, the sole focus is the consumer. And we all hear about this, but to have it confirmed during a dinner event that I was sitting at was just striking. They really, according to the person I was sitting next to, really don't give a damn, don't give 1 ounce of thought to the Amazon sellers that are out there, that it could be at all better for the consumer. If they can save half a penny on price, they're going to do it, and they don't care how many jobs it costs or how many sellers it puts out of business. The sole focus is on the consumer. I got sort of a backup a bit on our perception that first consumers, but then the next second level in what they care about are the brands, and that was definitely confirmed. I was able to confirm the lack of training that people have in terms of who looks at IP issues over in India, that this person also cannot identify any training at all that they receive. And I find it absolutely striking how Amazon has just exploited the intellectual property right complaints. That there's just seems to be zero training to the people who review the complaints to see if there's any merit at all. Let me do a quick check here to see if Aaron from eBay has our new link. Hey, Aaron, it's CJ. I want to make sure you have the new link, period. I had to go live before the link would dissipate. So if you can, please log on. Our viewers are waiting for you. But it's all my fault, and I apologize that my internet service here in Manchester is so poor. All right. I'm going to talk about a totally different subject while Aaron is hopefully going to log on. I want to talk to you about building your own brand. Okay, sellers out there, please also feel free to ask me questions because this isn't planned at all. I want to talk to you about building your own brand for a couple of reasons, and Amazon, our presentation about eBay is going to feed into that a bit. If you build your own brand, you're building your own asset, and not only can you take it on eBay and Newegg and Jet, Walmart, Etsy, eCreator, and all the other platforms and sell itself online on your own individual website and diversify a bit. By building your own brand, by building your own private label brand, you're also creating an asset. And I think that's vital in this day and age. You need to build something that you own. The days of easy business on Amazon are over. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. But if you build your own brand, you actually can either attract investment or attract someone who may buy your brand and buy your account based upon the value of your brand, boils down to intellectual property rights. Some of the things you can do is to, 1, file for a trademark right away. It could be a word, it could be a drawing, it could be a type of image. It doesn't really matter what category you file in when it comes to the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO. You just want to make sure that you get some trademark so that for your product, you can get Brand Registry 2.0. As you're developing your brand, you certainly want to do things like have contracts with your factories. Even if your factories are in China and you're not sure if you'll be able to enforce those contracts, when someone else is looking at your account or looking at your brand to purchase, the lawyers, the buyer, are going to want to see some documents. They're going to do what's called due diligence on your account. So you want to certainly document and have contracts with whoever is doing your manufacturing wherever they're located. So get your mark, get contracts. When you have employees, you want to have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. You don't want your employees to be able to take your idea and then turn around, open up their own Amazon account, go approach your vendors and start selling your own products and copying you that way. So you want to have that. You want to make sure you're creating an entity. In any state in the country, it's really easy. You can usually create an entity by making a telephone call to a corporate service. We use Bloomberg.com, and I see Aaron is on here. All right, Aaron. Aaron will be on in a couple of minutes. And you want to create the entity. You want to make sure that you are keeping separate books. Hey, Aaron, thanks for joining us. My internet stinks, and while we were waiting for you, I was talking to our audience about the value of creating their own brand so that they can go platform agnostic, including selling on eBay. So give me a couple of minutes to finish this, and then we'll get on our pre-scheduled program. Also, if you can, service is better than mine. I'm trying to keep my head still because I think the voice is reflecting better than video. So you want to keep a separate entity, separate bank accounts. You want to make sure that you can have someone do profit and loss statements. You really want to show that it's a separate business. That creates value. So Aaron, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Now back to our pre-programmed program. I've got Aaron Schneider from eBay, and thank you very much. I appreciate you logging back on. I had to send him a couple of links to get this to work. We're going to be talking about how Amazon sellers should diversify and get onto eBay. So Aaron, if you can, please introduce yourself to our audience. And if you can, I'd like you to do more talking than I am, because I know my internet service is not great right now, while yours seems pretty sharp.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you, CJ, for the introduction, and thanks for having me. So this is Aaron Schneider, Senior Manager of Business Development for eBay. I've been with eBay for about 6 years and worked in the e-commerce space for about 19 years now. And I'm an eBay corporate employee. So, I'm not a consultant. Me and my team, we don't charge any type of consulting fees. This session is really meant to be informative and help explain why to diversify onto eBay and talk about the how of diversifying onto eBay and kind of talk about the experience that many large Amazon sellers have had when they do diversify onto eBay.
Could you explain the process? And again, I want you to do as much talking as possible because my internet service is not strong. Can you explain the process of how an Amazon seller can get onto eBay and the whole thing from soup to nuts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, anyone can sell on eBay. So you don't need to go through me or my team to start selling, a few items here or there. And when I talk to most Amazon sellers, a lot of them actually tell me they started on eBay, 20 years ago, 22 years ago, 15 years ago. And then they saw strong growth from Amazon, so they decided to focus on Amazon. And now they're interested in coming back to eBay because eBay has been around now for 23 years. But in terms of starting the process, so, it really depends if you just want to sell a few items on eBay or if you truly want to diversify and list all your Amazon products on eBay. So if you just want to list a few products on eBay, anyone can go to ebay.com and go through the process of setting up a seller ID. Typically, you'd also either set up a PayPal account or set up a payments account through eBay. And then you'd be able to list a few items. And, so you'd need to, the most basic way of selling on eBay, if you just want to sell a few items, is to list your product titles. You have up to 80 characters that you can work with, list your product descriptions, list your prices, and then you'd have to manually log into eBay on a daily basis to check for orders and check for questions from customers. Most of the merchants that I work with are larger in nature, typically 7-figure Amazon sellers. And so for those sellers, we need to create processes around automation and doing things on a much bigger scale. And the reason that most large Amazon merchants want to consider selling on eBay is that the vast majority of the customers they see from eBay are incremental new customers. Number one, most merchants are telling us in excess of 70%. We've had some merchants tell us much higher. Number two, eBay has over 400 million downloads of our mobile app, and we're on pace to do over 90 billion in sales. And we also operate in over 100 countries compared to Amazon that's only in about 50. So it's really an incrementality play in terms of why diversify onto eBay. And then if you're a larger merchant and you want to list thousands of items on eBay, usually it comes down to a decision of, do you want to do it yourself directly with eBay, or do you want to use a third party? So, there's numerous third-party tools out there that can help merchants to list thousands of items on eBay. There's tools out there that can basically scrape all of your Amazon listings and port them over to eBay. And there's tools out there that can also share the inventory that you have at Amazon, either FBA or FBM, and share that inventory with eBay as well. So, you can do something very, very simple on eBay and just list a few items, or you can make eBay an enterprise business and shoot for the stars. I mean, there are, hundreds of eBay sellers that are doing 7 figures on eBay. So, there's no reason if you're doing really well on Amazon, you can't see similar results on eBay, with the majority of those results being incremental new customers.
Well, I want to ask you about a couple of things. One's really interesting to me because, right now I'm sitting in England, which is why my internet service is not so hot. The fact that eBay puts you on 100 countries, do you have to open up different accounts for each geographic area, or is it all through one account and you can sell wherever you want?
Yeah, so if you're a US-based merchant, the beauty of our global shipping program, GSP for short, which came out a few years ago, the beauty of the global shipping program is all you have to do is list the item on ebay.com in the US, and then after clicking a few buttons, you can activate that item to be seen by customers in 100 different countries. And then the real beauty of the global shipping program is you, as the US-based merchant, only have to ship the item to a special freight forwarding warehouse in Kentucky, where eBay and our shipping partner Pitney Bowes handles the tariffs, the customs, and the international leg of the shipping. So you don't have to fill out any tariffs forms, you don't have to fill out any customs forms. To you and to your system, it looks and feels like a US-based order because you're only sending it to Kentucky. And you also don't pay any additional fees for a global shipping program transaction. So you pay the same fees to eBay whether you're selling to a customer domestically or globally using the global shipping program. And then eBay also takes on the responsibility for the item once it arrives in Kentucky. So if that item happens to get stuck in customs afterward or disappears into the middle of the ocean, that's eBay's responsibility.
What about taxes? What is eBay doing different from Amazon when it comes to sales taxes and VAT taxes?
Yep. So, on eBay, our official stance is we can't give you any tax advice. Obviously, we're a big proponent for American businesses, especially small and mid-sized businesses. We do a lot of lobbying in Washington, D.C. Around taxes. I'll be the first to say I'm not a CPA. I can't give tax advice. There are different options for charging tax on eBay. Some merchants will charge a flat tax. Others will average out taxes. So there's different options. So, at the end of the discussion, I'm happy to give my email address and my LinkedIn network connection to anyone that wants to kind of have a more deep dive discussion around taxes. But I'm going to punt on having a deep dive discussion on taxes for right now.
All right. It's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that unlike Amazon, which has disclosed tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of sellers when they didn't want to collect the sales tax in certain states, that eBay collects the sales tax and eBay provides it to the various sales tax venues, and that eBay also, you're telling us, deals with customs issues where they're not dumping every single problem on the seller, unlike Amazon, which puts that all on the seller, which creates problems.
Yeah, from a customs and tariffs perspective relating to the global shipping program transactions, we take responsibility for that 100%. Once it arrives in Kentucky, it becomes our responsibility. So that's 100% accurate, and it's really trying to take headaches off the plate of merchants and help them expand without adding headaches. So, the beauty of the global shipping program is literally you're flipping a switch and you're instantly selling in up to 100 countries without having to build any infrastructure or spend a penny on any infrastructure. From a tax perspective, I would just correct a little bit of what you said in that, selling on eBay doesn't necessarily change anyone's tax nexus. So it depends on what states a merchant currently collects tax in, and we can enable them typically to do whatever they're doing on their own website or via their own business. But we don't take any additional tax responsibility beyond what Amazon's doing, as far as I know.
All right. Now, I also, from what I know, when it comes to intellectual property complaints against sellers, eBay uses the Vero system, the Verified Rights Owner system, which makes it a little more robust. It's a lot more robust when a brand wants to make a complaint against a seller. Are you involved at all with intellectual property right complaints, or what we see on Amazon, a ton of baseless intellectual property complaints against sellers?
Yeah, so here's how I would describe kind of eBay's stance on things. So I would just say that number one, eBay doesn't automatically take the word of the brand. And this is more coming from the mouths of merchants that I've spoke to over the last 6 years, hundreds of them. So for example, Amazon has issues all the time with gating. Well, they'll say, "Oh, Mr. Merchant, you can't sell this product because we're gating this product now." eBay doesn't do that. Like, we don't treat a merchant differently than a brand from that perspective. So everyone has a right to sell the product. It's up to the brand to control their own supply chain. And if a brand doesn't have control of their supply chain, the brand can't come to eBay and say, "Sorry, I don't want this seller selling this product." Because eBay doesn't know if the seller bought the product or received the product as a gift. eBay believes the seller has the right to sell any product that they have in their hands, as long as it's a legal product and it's not a counterfeit or something like that. So from that perspective, we're much more merchant friendly. In terms of intellectual property, the main things to think about on eBay and the main things to avoid getting in trouble on is, if you take your own photos and you write your own product descriptions, there's very, 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 very little chance of ever getting in trouble on eBay. The main trouble that merchants get into on eBay relating to intellectual property is if they're cutting and pasting photos directly from the manufacturer and pasting them onto eBay. And in that case, they are taking manufacturers' trademarked photos, and in that case, we have to step in. But if they take their own photos,
what you're saying, you are preaching to the choir. What I've talked to sellers about all over the world is that when it comes to intellectual property rights in the United States, as long as you're not copying someone else's photograph and not copying and pasting their verbiage, most likely you're not violating anybody's intellectual property rights. So it's really great that eBay is treating sellers appropriately and not assuming they're doing something wrong, because the ramifications are really bad when Amazon just suspends a seller from a baseless intellectual property complaint where there's no violation, freezes their money, freezes their account, freezes their inventory. So this is huge. I recently had a case where there was a labeling issue where products were sent into Amazon, and their defense to not giving the seller credit for all their inventory was the labeling process. And in my opinion, it was total bullshit. Okay, everything was labeled appropriately. Amazon clearly received all 4 pallets. What is the process for getting goods from a seller into eBay or to the consumer?
Yeah, so the positive and negative here. So the positive is that eBay is not a competitor to merchants or sellers, right? We are a pure marketplace. So there's a lot of talk in the industry, and it seems like there's articles every day being published about Amazon now creating their own version of diapers, their own version of batteries, their own version of mattresses, their own version of clothing. I just saw the other day they have their own liquor as well now. So, I mean, Amazon is clearly looking out for their best interests. And while many merchants have seen large growth on Amazon, any merchant that doesn't view Amazon as a quasi competitor, in my opinion, is refusing to see the truth. So, you have to view Amazon as a competitor from the perspective of they will gate products, they will private label products, they will, do whatever is in their best interest. And whereas eBay has a different stance on this, our stance is we benefit when the seller sells their products. We've never created a private label version of a product. We've never taken our merchants' data and created private label versions of products. And we're not in the business of gating products and saying this seller is allowed to sell this product and this other seller's not allowed to sell it. So we are a true marketplace. Also, eBay does not currently have anything similar to FBA. So on eBay, we are a pure marketplace in that the merchant is responsible for fulfilling the order. Now, most of our largest merchants will fulfill their own orders out of their own warehouse, or they'll hire a third-party fulfillment company to pick, pack, and ship the orders. eBay does currently allow FBA to be used for eBay orders. However, I definitely would not call that best practices because there can be disconnects between FBA and eBay. And what I've seen personally is that most sellers that exclusively use FBA to fulfill the eBay orders are not able to achieve what we call the top-rated seller metrics on eBay.
All right, let me take a step back. So I want to confirm a couple of things for sellers out there. eBay does not use third-party sellers as its own R&D department to figure out what products to get into, correct?
Exactly, correct.
eBay does not identify where the products are coming from and then bypass the sellers and buy from their own factories and cut the sellers out of the loop.
Correct.
All right, I'm not saying Amazon does this, okay? I'm not saying Amazon does. I'm just saying what eBay clearly doesn't do. eBay doesn't compete with its own sellers.
Correct.
All right, these are all great things for sellers out there. You have to diversify. It would be nice to have a platform that actually treated you more like a partnership rather than an R&D department for no money. All right, there's got to be some downsides of eBay, okay? Not having FBA, that's a downside. Not every seller wants to be involved in pick, pack, and ship. FBA does work well. There's got to be some negatives here, okay? In terms of the market share, eBay still is much smaller than Amazon, correct?
In the US, Amazon is the largest marketplace. eBay is the second largest. And then, way in third place would probably be a marketplace like Walmart. But that's in the US.
This was the
layup.
layup.
Once you get outside the US, eBay actually is bigger than Amazon in numerous different markets. So take a country like Australia, which is a major market. eBay is currently 5 times bigger than Amazon in Australia.
I got to tell you, I was asking those questions with a purpose because that's exactly where I wanted to go. So in Australia, eBay is blowing Amazon out of the water in Australia. And here in the UK, okay, Amazon is not the Goliath around the world that it is domestically. So sellers out there, what Aaron is telling you is the truth. eBay has a tremendous amount of market share in the UK and in the other areas of Europe. So this is tremendous for sellers to diversify. You don't have to be married to Amazon. You can diversify with the same account and get around the world. And outside the United States, Amazon is not the Goliath. In fact, in Australia in particular, they're getting the crap kicked out of them.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with all of that. And I would say, it also comes down to, where you're spending your money and your infrastructure, and the fact that we can set up a US account and allow you to expand to 100 countries versus Amazon, who's in 50 countries, but to sell in 50 countries on Amazon, you have to go set up all sorts of infrastructure to get that level of international coverage. So we also make it super simple to expand internationally, not just the fact that, there's many countries where eBay is either bigger than Amazon Or there's also many countries, about 50 in total, where eBay has a big presence and Amazon has no presence. And sometimes people are like, wow, maybe I need to put on my international hat for a second and think that there's literally 50 countries out there where Amazon has zero presence and eBay has a significant presence. So you could sit in the back of a taxi cab and have a conversation about eBay. And if you ask about Amazon in those 50 countries, people would have no clue what you're talking about.
Also, what I haven't seen is any of the animosity towards eBay. Amazon, you hear from sellers every day, day in and day out, about the problems. In Australia, it seems that the population is rejecting Amazon, but you never hear that negative connotation when it comes to being an eBay seller. What's eBay's future? I love that it's stepping up to the plate. I love that it's taken on Amazon. Tell us what the future programs are. Why sellers should put in the time and effort now and ride the growth, ride the wave.
Yeah. I mean, today, the reasons to sell on eBay are we're a pure marketplace. We're not going to compete with our sellers. We're not building private label brands. We're not gating products. Incrementality is obviously huge. If we can deliver upwards of 70% incremental new orders that you weren't getting before, that's obviously huge. Access to dozens of international markets that Amazon can't get you into, that's obviously another big reason to diversify onto eBay. And then, it's also just around, if people don't sell on eBay and they don't actively diversify, and then they call you, CJ, because they've been suspended for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days on Amazon. Like, how do you make payroll if all your eggs are in the Amazon basket? So, diversify, just like I don't think anyone would say it's a good idea to invest 100% of your retirement in any one stock. I don't think it's a good idea for anyone to invest 100% of their energy and their time and their resources in any one marketplace. So, those are all the reasons to sell on eBay. You asked earlier about any downside to selling on eBay. The only downside I would say is, eBay, I'm a very transparent person. eBay is growing in many categories. We're growing, significantly, but we're not growing as fast as Amazon. So, it's not realistic for most merchants to necessarily think they're going to have 100% apples to apples revenue. So if somebody's doing 10 million on Amazon, realistically, they should be thinking it's going to be a smaller number on eBay, like being very transparent with the audience. But, still, even if you were doing 10 or 20 or 30% of what you're doing on Amazon on eBay, and then Amazon suspends you, I'm sure you'd be happy that you diversified rather than getting suspended from Amazon and suddenly having an issue making payroll because you're not selling anywhere else.
Also, what you're talking about, the protection also involves having some of your own inventory. FBA has a lot of great stuff, and Amazon still offers tremendous opportunities. But if you're doing eBay and you're fulfilling your own orders, you have your own inventory. If you're on Amazon and you get suspended, your inventory is locked up, and you're really screwed. So I think that is a huge benefit, and I personally find it super offensive that while Amazon is probably the most diversified company that exists in terms of its product line and even its multiple sellers for multiple products, the fact that they compel sellers to only have one account, to me, that's offensive. You force people to put all their eggs in one basket while you diversify tremendously. I'm still having some tech issues. Aaron, how could our listeners or our viewers contact you if they want to? If they want to say, hey, I want to speak with Aaron, I want to communicate with Aaron, I want to get onto eBay to protect myself, to diversify my business a bit.
Yeah, sure. So the best way to contact me is either via LinkedIn. So I have a premium membership with LinkedIn. So if you Aaron Schneider 01, AARON SCHNEIDER 01, or just type in Aaron Schneider eBay, and I'm the only Aaron Schneider at eBay on LinkedIn. So that's a great way. Or you can also email me directly at aaschneider@ebay.com, AASCHNEIDER @ebay.com. So those are probably the two best ways to get in touch with me. Like I said, I've been at eBay about 6 years. I've helped hundreds of large Amazon sellers to dramatically increase their eBay sales. In some cases, we've taken sellers from zero eBay revenue to seven figures in eBay revenue. And you can, see lots of references for me on my LinkedIn page as well.
All right, folks. So diversity is the key to health. You may lose Amazon from time to time. You may have a suspension, may lose a listing. But if you're on other platforms, if you work towards being platform agnostic, you can still have income, still have an ongoing business while you're cleaning up whatever problems that you have. Before you came on, I was talking to our listeners about developing their private label brands and getting trademarks and contracts and really building an asset that they can sell to others. What kind of programs does eBay have for private label sellers? Just to bring this full circle.
Yeah, so we don't have separate programs for private label versus branded. There's 1.1 billion items for sale at any given moment on eBay. About 80% of all sales on eBay are fixed price merchandise. About 60% of all items being sold on eBay are being transacted on mobile devices. But we view a private label item the same way that we view a branded item. So the important thing is, listen, if it's not listed on eBay, it's not going to sell on eBay. So, my advice would be diversify onto eBay. Some of your products may sell really well on eBay, others may not. But until you list it and kind of check out the demand on eBay, you're just not going to know. And, eBay really can be a great both short-term and long-term business partner that has the best interests of its merchants in mind. Tries to treat merchants fairly, tries to help you grow your business, and in no way has any desire to compete with you like Amazon does.
Okay, what I'm hearing from you, I always try and look at the positive. I'm a very positive person. I always look at the glass half full and look to seize opportunity. What I'm hearing from you is that eBay is treating the small private label brands exactly the same as the major brands. So if I develop my own telephone case, right, I'm going to be treated the same as the big guys. And I think that's great. And I think that I'm going to write that up right here, that eBay is not competing against its sellers.
That's right. That's one of our core philosophies and has been a core philosophy for the past 23 years. Also, one other event that merchants may want to consider looking into in the future. So once a year, eBay has an event called eBay Open, where we invite thousands of sellers to attend an eBay best practices event to get to know the eBay management team, learn about ways to grow your eBay business. So that event is usually in Q3. So it's been in Las Vegas the last few years, but that can also be a great event to get involved in for any sellers that are looking to really take the eBay business seriously and diversify and figure out ways to grow the business.
Okay, I love it. I love it. So sellers out there, diversify, get on eBay. You can sell to 100 countries around the world from one account. It's not like opening another account is going to create problems in your bread and butter. Aaron, thank you very, very much. I want to wrap it up a bit with just pumping Amazon Smiles. If you're shopping on Amazon, please use Amazon Smiles and pick the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. It's one of the things about Amazon that I do love. I'm not generally an Amazon basher, but what Aaron is saying about eBay is huge. Aaron, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for your patience with my problems logging on today. And if anyone else has any questions, you can still post your questions on Facebook, and either I can answer them or Aaron can answer whatever questions you have. And just thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your patience. And sellers, keep on selling, and good luck in Q4, and diversify. Diversify is the key to long-term success. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, Aaron, hang on.